Hey, what up, guys? What it is? Welcome back to the channel. And I got an inspiration because I was watching one of my favorite channels, Abba and Preach. Probably some of the guys with the best takes on the internet, in my honest opinion. And they've done two videos most recently that are targeted towards Fresh and Fit, who they've had beef with before. And every time Abba and Preach and Fresh and Fit clash, it always ends up with Fresh and Fit looking like the bad guys and Abba and Preach looking like the good ones. And I remember when Fresh and Fit burst onto the scene right off the get-go, and I was watching their content, and it was a lot of Instagram models that they would bring on, and then there's other channels that mimic that kind of behavior where they have, adult film stars on there and stuff. And then they ask them the questions of like, oh, well, what are you going to do after all of this is done and everything, like the obvious questions. And the red pill has become quite an interesting phenomenon over the past couple years, to the point where I don't even think that it's blacklisted like YouTube likes to say it is, or people who are on YouTube like to say it is. It's so much content out there that I'm pretty sure isn't censored in much way at all, unless the people who made that content are actually just pushing boundaries and actually breaking some really fundamental rules, and then they say the system's out to get me when they broke a rule. Just kind of like when Sneeko got banned. I remember the straw that broke the camel's back with him being banned from YouTube. That was something that could have easily been avoided, and he really overshot himself looking for ways to stir the pot. And no, I'm not this blue pill NPC. In fact, there's a lot of things that the quote-unquote base community of YouTube says that I would actually get aboard with. I'm very pro-family unit. I think that people should seek out meaningless relationships and reject hookup culture as much as they can. Obviously, when you're younger, that stuff's going to be around, but there comes a time where you certainly got to grow up a little bit. The dating realm is obviously a mess where you have both men and women alike who are just not equipped to handle a relationship and keep one together. But no matter what side of the aisle you find it on, whether you're a man or a woman, I really just see it as the two genders just being repulsed by each other without acknowledging their shortcomings. Because I don't know what it's like to live with women, but I do know what it's like to live with men. And the amount of excuses from men on why they can't pay their rent, it kind of makes me wonder why they are single. Because if you can't be a responsible adult and keep your word, why are we even having a conversation? But you could see why I don't put the red pill on any sort of pedestal, and I'm very critical of it because, it was supposed to be something that woke people up, but it's actually become this other thing that has kind of just furthered the divide that is happening between the genders nowadays. Because the whole Fresh and Fit situation with the baby and everything like that, it just kind of shows how when push comes to shove, they don't really keep traditional values at all. They're just having the show so they can make a lot of money, have an audience, and then live just the degenerate style of life that they claim that people on the other side of the aisle are. So it's one of those things, because I actually have a friend who is super quote-unquote red pill, and he has escaped from the Matrix. But at every turn, he tries to party the way he can, the way he tries to get everything, that would definitely be in the Matrix. He wants the clout, he wants the money, he wants the subscribers, all of that stuff. But he claims that, he's above it all. And it's where I ask people like that, are you actually upset that we don't live in such a traditionalist society as you claim, or is it because you want the benefits, you want the popularity, you want to be the one that everyone holds on a pedestal and worships? And that's why I really support Abba and Preach in their endeavors, because they at least bring some nuance to the table, because I know one of them is married and in a healthy relationship. And if you actually took time to click off the internet and look around, you would see that there are people who have functional relationships, functional families, and functional everything like that, starting families and whatnot. And it's really not as divisive as the internet culture has led it on to believe. And that's why I try to put more positive and insightful content out there to kind of be helpful towards the cause. I try not to point the finger and say it's this person's fault, unless it's down to an individual. But looking at the way this has aged and how it's just basically flying off the rails, and you see a lot of these red pill guys living these quote unquote party lifestyles, even though they were just complaining about partying 2 years ago, it kind of shows. And I don't want to sound like I'm copying video ideas, but I also watched Gokinaru's video where he absolutely destroys Sneeko for 2 hours, and Sneeko is a whole nother can of worms that a lot of the internet hates, and for very good reason. And if you asked your average internet goer why they hate Sneeko, they probably wouldn't be able to break it down for you because they'd probably be running off of emotion. But Gokinaru breaks him down piece by piece and everything about his psyche on how he actually doesn't have a legitimate opinion and he's legitimately just a grifter. And it's not just Gokinaru. Turkey Tom, Brandon Buckingham have all come down on these guys. And Turkey Tom and Brandon Buckingham are actually people who you would view, who I also subscribe to, as, you know, quote-unquote based or quote-unquote red-pilled. But guess what? They're not trying to overdo the Matrix. They're just trying to live good lives and set good, informative examples on how we can make things better for ourselves. Because like guys like that are the real people who we should be looking towards to see. Like Brandon Buckingham, just a shout-out to him because this guy, I watch his content, and I honestly think a lot of people should watch his content if you're a lost young man looking for answers in life, because I do acknowledge that there are a lot of lonely, lost young men and women who are very blindsided by the dating scene. But we tend to get in this mindset of main character syndrome and think that it's just us, or it's just us going through these things, where the quote-unquote people who are quote-unquote waking up aren't realizing that there's a lot of people waking up, and the people who wake up need to have each other's backs. And that's why I'm kind of pointing this out, because these red pill things are completely corrupted and they've missed the entire mission statement of when they've started. And it's sad to see, because you think that there'd be some good voices, but they are completely becoming the opposite now. And that's why I make this video, because, you know I like to do more content that's centered around art and sketches now, just because I understand not everyone wants a bunch of video essays. But when I started this channel, it was more about my personal journal, and I didn't expect it to get anywhere near the numbers I've seen it get at certain points. And to everybody who has reached out and watched the videos, liked, subscribed, I thank you guys very much for bringing it that way. When we reach certain things, I might actually do certain aspects, because although I don't know my audience members name by name, once we reach a certain point, I would like to give back to the people who have helped me build it up. Because I might not remember all of you, but I do want to acknowledge that all of your contributions, like clicking the like button, the subscribe button, are always there. But I just want to conclude this video by saying, watch who you go towards when it comes to looking for a way to better yourself, because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there who tell you what you want to hear, but then they really don't help you. They capitalize on your vulnerability, and that to me is one of the most tragic things. It's happened to me in other realms that aren't quote-unquote red pill, but I don't like to see people go through the same thing regardless of the essence of life they're going through. But peace out, and I'll see you on the next one.